The Lewis Chessmen are made from walrus ivory. Walrus ivory is a term that's used to describe the two prominent protruding teeth of the walrus. Now, for reasons unknown to us, the elephant ivory supply dried up from the 9th century until the 13th century, and the walrus provided the ivory that was needed to make luxury products like these. Walrus ivory wasn't cheap, it was an extremely expensive material, and the products that were carved from it were used really to furnish the households of aristocrats, lords, ladies, kings, queens throughout Europe. Walrus tusks were shipped in huge numbers from northern Norway and southern Greenland. Trondheim was one of the main centres of walrus ivory carving. It's likely that these pieces were produced in Trondheim. The ivory was carved in workshops and carved by hand, and they're using tools such as chisels or knives to carve out this very intricate detail, which is a very time-consuming process. So these things were not produced within a few hours. They were produced more likely within a few weeks. Now, what's so brilliant about walrus ivory is that it achieves exactly the same degree of luster that you might get from an elephant tusk. It's also hard, so you can achieve a great deal of definition when you're carving it, and that means that characters such as the queen, for instance, the thrones that they're seated on, have these incredible, elaborate ornamentation. In this case, it's fleshy-leaved foliate devices. But one of the great dangers in carving ivory, walrus ivory, is that you might unwittingly expose the unsightly dentine that is at the centre of the tusk. And this king in particular helps us to see that. And so the carver was at pains to avoid that coming to the surface. Obviously, as you're working it into the surface to get the face and details of the chest, then you're getting very, very close to this extremely unsightly material at the centre, which is porous, doesn't have the same lustre, and doesn't have the same quality as the exterior shell of the tusk. What we have with the Lewis Chessmen is that we have constituent pieces of perhaps 4 different chess sets, and we can see that perhaps as many as 3 or 4 different hands were at work. If we look at this king, for instance, you'll see how he's got a very distinctive face. It's much larger than the others, incredibly bulbous eyes. The throne is rendered perhaps with less exuberance than some of the other thrones of the other pieces. So he's a very distinctively different piece, and there are other elements of the hoard that actually tie in stylistically with this king. This queen, clearly not designed to be the consort of the king next to her, much more elegant, much more polished, a much more luxurious, exuberant style of carving on the back of the throne. She's really much more refined. If you see the way that the fingers are depicted on the side of her cheek, it's much more delicate. So there are judgments we can make about the different hands at work because of the variety of pieces that survive in the hoard as a whole.